Good morning. I'm Tracy Fisher, Chair of Business Diversity Institute. On behalf of the Board of Directors of BDI, I want to welcome you to Day 2 of MedWeek 21. Our theme this year is Engage, Elevate, Empower. And we thank you for joining us and engaging in the content and with each other as we elevate ideas and people and provide you with concepts that will empower you to create and seize opportunities. Today, we will get to take a stroll alongside two amazing entrepreneurs in our Med Talks and hear about their journeys that have brought them to where they are today. We will learn about recruiting with purpose by positioning business culture. We get to honor some outstanding people and organizations with MedWeek Awards. And then we'll send you off with an inspirational keynote from Stephen Green. We have so much in store for you today. I can't wait to get started. Before we do, though, let me take a minute to tell you about BDI's programs. Our Breakthrough Breakfast is a series of morning workshops targeted at business owners. Business Leadership Recharge is a 3-day retreat to reinvigorate business leaders. The Diversity Practitioner Summit brings together diversity professionals in the public and private sectors to collaborate and learn about creating opportunities for small businesses. And of course, we have our annual Minority Enterprise Development MedWeek celebration. This year, I'm also pleased to announce that we're embarking on a new program that will offer a professional certification for diversity practitioners. We are so excited to be adding to our programming, all in support of creating opportunity for businesses owned by people of color and women. I also want to take the opportunity to thank the BDI board for the work they do to bring you all of BDI's programming. We are an all-volunteer board, and I am so privileged to get to work with this phenomenal group of people. I lead the executive committee as chair of BDI. Coda Trudell serves as vice chair and interim treasurer. Amber Page is the BDI's secretary. Our board members at large include Amy Winterode, Deborah Matthews, Kimberly Sutton, and Nina Jones. Please join me in thanking these remarkable people. There are lots of opportunities to volunteer for BDI. If you're interested in getting more involved, please reach out to any one of us. And finally, I would like to pause to thank our sponsors for your generous support. Please join me in thanking our sponsors for helping making MedWeek and all of our programming possible. Thank you so much to our showcase sponsors. Please join me in recognizing our enterprise level sponsors. Thank you to our Summit and Recharge level sponsors. And of course, we are proud to receive the breakthrough level sponsorship from all of the small businesses that we support. You can also get more information in our event app, Eventee. Just click on the More button in the bottom right of the mobile app or the upper left side of the computer page, and then click on the sponsor link. The More button is also where you can see our program. I'm really happy to have you all here with us today. To start us off, we have Med Talks. After each Med Talk, there will be a short question and answer period. Please use the questions field at any time during the Med Talks to submit your questions to our speakers. Here to introduce our Med Talk speakers is our speaking coach, Samantha Jordan. Samantha has provided coaching for Med Talks for many years and has an uncanny way of bringing the most amazing stories out of our speakers. I've had the privilege of sitting in on the prep sessions and have seen how our speakers have taken Samantha's advice and developed their stories into what you are about to see. Please join me in welcoming Samantha Jordan to introduce our Med Talk speakers.
Welcome to MedWeek. Each year, BDI hosts its annual conference, and one of my favorite parts is Med Talks. Modeled after TED Talks, you'll be hearing from two small business owners as they share their journey to success. I'm Samantha Jordan, Director of Business Development for Emmerich Construction, and I'll be your moderator for these sessions. When you think of drive, passion, dedication, mixed with a leap of faith, this speaker embodies all of those characteristics. Throughout her career path, finding success was not easy, but believing in herself would be the driving factor. It is my pleasure to introduce Leanna of K&D Window Coverings.
Hi, I'm Leanna Smith, and I'm the owner and operator of MLS Interiors. Like so many stories of resilience, mine starts with a pretty rough childhood that ended up in foster care and then after multiple homes, an all-girls group home. At the group home, they didn't really have a lot of options and things to do, and there were so many things that I was exposed to that I'd never really been around, and I just didn't fit in, which I'm thankful for, but at the same time, everybody who's 13 or 14 wants to fit in. So I ended up just doing these packets that were turned into PPS and would give you high school credits. It wasn't necessarily meant for education, it was more for credit purposes. So by the time I moved out of the group home and back with my family, I had a ton of credits. So my family moved a little bit further south to an area that didn't really have a lot of electives, and I was kind of left with this not knowing what to do. So I ended up taking work experience as part of my afternoon programs. A local business had reached out to our school counselor, and they were looking for somebody that could go in and do filing, organization, and different types of clerical things in the afternoons from 3 to 5. So that became what I did in the afternoons rather than going to school and taking electives that I'd already been through. So over time, I learned how to do so many other things there. And the woman who was training me eventually decided that she wanted to leave to go be home with her kids. So her last day was the day of my high school graduation. And they gave me the offer to work there full time starting the Monday after I graduated, which I did. And I worked there for a few years. I loved it there so much. It taught me so much about the construction industry, but on a smaller scale. I love to think about the things like roof pitch and flooring options and different wall thickness and insulation. And it's like I learned all of these things, but only a few different options and not all of the things that you can actually learn about in life. So eventually they brought on help for me, and they hired my boss's brother-in-law, who had lost his job and had just moved to the Northwest, and he needed a new job. And he made it very clear that he was there to take my job. And I just didn't want to compete with that. And realistically, I was looking at it thinking, I'm 19 and I have the whole world ahead of me, and this guy's trying to support a family. But I think reality is I wasn't going to get to keep my job. He was family. He was a white male that had a college education, and he was the exact opposite of me. And at the time, I certainly wasn't the person that businesses were looking for. So I went to go work for a family friend who owned an accessory company. As a child, I had sold their jewelry door to door. I would take their little cases and sell. And so it's one of their favorite stories as our business grew of how the neighbor girl would sell things for them. So eventually going to work for them kind of made this full circle, which was great for them and for me as well. I knew that it wasn't going to be my permanent job and it wasn't the industry that I wanted to be in, but I was able to learn QuickBooks and build websites. And really, I saw real life what it's like to own a small business. The things like getting up in the morning and going to answer a phone call or an email and ending up at 2 o'clock still in your bathrobe because you never had a chance to go get dressed. I think we've all been there. Knowing that this wasn't my permanent job, I was still looking for something where I actually wanted to be. And I ended up finding a job in a flooring company for new construction homes. I loved it there. And the friends that I made and things that I learned are things that will always last me a lifetime. And the people that I met and that became my friends became the family that I really needed, especially in 2008 when my mother passed away as a surprise to all of us at the age of 47. So in 2008, while everybody else is worried about new construction starts and whether or not we have the product that's going to fit here, and really there was the race to the bottom, I was still driving down to my family's house for 3 times a week, 45 minutes away, to cook dinner and write checks and take care of my little 13-year-old brother and my stepdad who'd never written a check or paid bills or had done anything like that. So I kind of was in this like chaos time that every month, every week, whatever it was that we had layoffs was kind of like, okay, is it going to be me? Is it me? But I kept getting just changed, different positions. And eventually I ended up in commercial window coverings where I didn't love it, but it was kind of like, okay, well, I saw the job until I didn't. And in 2011 or 2010, I was finally one of the second to last layoffs. The problem with that was that I had also intended to tell them that week that I was pregnant. So at 11 weeks pregnant, I'm now unemployed in an industry that is really hurting. Fortunately, my husband at the time worked and made enough money that I was able to stay home with my son for the first 2 years. After the loss of my grandfather a few years later, I kind of realized that while being home with my son for 2 years was a huge blessing, that I had become a person that I never wanted to be. I was the person that I promised myself I wouldn't be. I never wanted to rely on somebody else to take care of me, and I was never going to let anybody treat me poorly. And that's what I'd been doing for the last few years, and I had had enough. So after I told my husband that I wanted a divorce, his initial reaction was, "You don't even have a job. How are you going to leave me?" So I went the next day to get a job. And of all the people that had told me they would hire me in a second or let me know when you're ready to go back to work, I ended up reaching out to my biggest competitor. And to this day, I still don't know what made me do this, but I walked in and told them I needed a job and had a job that day. This is also where I met my now husband, Matt. And at the time, he became my best friend. He helped me through so many things and helped me to really find myself, which is what I was also doing while I was working. I started doing homeowner selections, which was picking out their new finishes for a brand new home, which is a once in a lifetime opportunity for so many people. And for many people, it's something that never even happened. So it's exciting. And I became a part of their story and I wanted to be a good part. So I became really invested in the families that I worked with, and they would come to me for resources. One of which was consistent of, who do you recommend for window coverings? And I didn't have anybody. And I knew I didn't want to send them to a box store. And I also didn't want to do like a referral program with somebody. So I talked to Matt and said, why don't we start our own company? So we did. And it was eventually intended to just be our kids' college fund. We called it K&D Window Coverings after our kids. And it was just something we were going to do on the evenings and weekends. And the people that we met knew that we had really regular jobs, so they would meet us in the evenings, the weekends, which in retail, that's generally what people want. So over time, we started to get more and more busy, and I'm truly thankful for that. But as we started to grow in our faith, and as I was spending more time at church and reaching out to other areas in the world, I was kind of like, the company that I'm working for isn't where I want to be. And the values that they have and some of the things that had gone on were just so wrong. I mean, it was pretty bad. So eventually, after talking about it and praying on it, and it was the National Day of Prayer, that we kind of decided we had to do something. And that following Monday, we both went in and quit our jobs on the same day. When I think about the fact that my husband and I quit our jobs on the same day, I'm so overwhelmingly shocked, because we didn't have any prospects. We didn't have any jobs lined up. It was kind of like, we knew we were going to be okay. We would find a way, but good God, we just quit our jobs. Seriously, who does that? So for the next couple of years, we really lived on faith, and there were plenty of days that I didn't know if we were going to make it, either within our marriage or in our business or anything. There's so many moments that we don't talk about as business owners. And one of those is sitting in church. We were doing a job for the sanctuary of our church. And I remember sitting there almost in tears thinking, am I going to be able to pay our bills this month? And I just sat there and prayed, because I didn't know if we were going to make it. I had faith in myself. I had faith in my God. I had faith in my husband, but I still didn't have money in my bank account to be able to get through whatever month that was. I don't think that we talk about that enough, and people see the successes and they don't see the failures. They don't see the fact that I was so close to taking a full-time job with someone else because I was so close to giving in. But I knew we'd make it, and I figured out a way, and we continued to fight. And as we're building in our residential business, Matt says to me that he wants to do a commercial job. And I was like, no, because I had always been told, stay away from commercial. There's too much overhead. It takes too long to get the job done. It's just the worst. And so I told him, like, I didn't want to. And I told him we could do one job, and it had meant I intended for it to be a I told you so kind of thing, where it was like, yeah, I guess that didn't work out. Who was right? But I was wrong. And it was perfect for us. And it was this great fit. And what I didn't know is that at the time, a few years down the road, which was 2020, had we been retail only, we probably wouldn't have made it. But we ended up thriving and having 2020 be our strongest year yet. But as we grew in our marriage and our business, and I started to do things like Meet the Primes and making friends with other contractors and doing outreach with things like Awami and NAWIC and getting my COVID certification, we slowly saw more and more contracts coming in. And it kind of was like, okay, we're just getting by. It was kind of keep your head down and we'll keep going and we're almost there. And someday we'll be okay. And eventually it's kind of like we looked up one day and our backlog was at $1 million, which in window coverings, that's a lot. I look at it now thinking like, oh my gosh, look at all of these relationships that we've built and all of the outreach that we've done and all of these things that I get to now do because of it. In a month, I start training for the CASA program, which is Court Appointed Special Advocate. And now I get to go be a voice in court for foster kids. I do respite care through community outreach for foster homes. And I do as much as I can with programs like Every Child and programs like Awami, where they're doing outreach for youth to understand businesses and know that college isn't your only option. For the kids that are in foster care that don't have the opportunity to go to college, I don't want them to ever think that you failed, or that because you didn't go to college, you're not going to succeed, and that you have this lifelong sentence of failure because of somebody else's choices for you. My goal is for so many people to know that this isn't what you have to be, and that you get to change that. You get to write that story, and you get to have that faith. What I know now is that God is always with me. But what I didn't know at the time when I was growing up and when I was in pain, when I was struggling, was that He was with me then too. And when I didn't have enough strength to get through and to be resilient and to be the woman that I needed to be, He sent the people that I needed. And I will forever be grateful for every single person that has helped me along the way. And I can't wait to see what our business actually grows to and becomes.
Thank you, Leanna. That was truly amazing. And as you can see, just by the passion in her voice and the journey that she took, where she started out with her childhood and then the adversity that she had and some of the obstacles, and the fact that she was able to lean into some of her old family friends to help her gain the confidence, understand some of the business know-how, and then take that and move forward into her new career, and then taking that giant leap of faith, which you heard, where her and her husband had just started the new business. It's absolutely phenomenal and inspiring to hear that, especially to hear that there are real struggles that happen in small businesses, in large businesses, and to hear that people actually have to sit back and take a deep breath and really plan and move forward. And you have to take a leap of faith in order to be successful. So Leanna, I'm really proud of you. And thank you so much for sharing your story today. It means a lot. And so with that, I just want to ask a couple of questions of you. And Leanna will be joining us via audio today. She is having a little bit of camera trouble just now. So at this particular time, some of the questions that we had planned to have for her, and it looks like, I'm just getting a quick message that she is not on the back end here. So I think what we can do is we can pivot a little bit. I can answer a few questions that we talked about in our training session, and then we can pivot and move on to Venki. So some of the pieces that we had asked when we were working through our training and coaching pieces with Leanna is just, what are some of the obstacles and struggles that you had that were real that you were able to apply to your business and your character and what it is and your success for today? And so some of the things that really stuck out was the fact that she had really taken advantage of different packets of information that they had in the high school, as you heard with her learning, and that she was able to move that forward and take that information and actually build a business know-how in the back end and really understand the workings of how you had to incorporate, Excel spreadsheets and QuickBooks and different aspects there at a young age, which I think, it doesn't matter, as you heard, like your career path. You don't have to start out in the exact thing that you want to do. It's something that you can apply different pieces of your life and bring that forward, and then apply that to your job and your career and also your small business as well. And so, with that, she was able to excel and move forward. And we were super glad to hear that through her journey, and as you heard her say at the very end, that she is working with CASA, and that is a program that is helping out troubled youth and foster care people that are able to have a support group, mentors, and a way to get a leg up. And so I think that that's truly what, is her underlying inspirational message, was that she had faith in the group of people that were around her and wanted to continue to give back, not only in her own business, but then also outside of that. And so that's just a rounded character of how you can really just take something in the small business community and really rally around each other, take your information, find out what you're extremely passionate about, and then pursue that to the fullest. So Leanna, I really am proud that you were able to share that with us. And I'm sorry that you're not able to join us for this segment of the Q&A. If you're able to later on, that would be fantastic. And if not, I'm going to pass this back and we're going to introduce our next speaker. I would like to introduce someone I have had the great pleasure of getting to know this past year. You'll hear about his passionate journey over the past few decades and his zest for continued learning throughout his career. It is my honor to introduce Venki of Sigma Consulting.
Good morning. My name is Venki. I'm with Sigma Consultants Group, Inc., local IT consulting organization from Beaverton. I would like to thank BDI for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of you. I'm going to talk about my journey from India to United States. I like to share a few of my stories here, my background, how company started, struggles, lesson learned, and future. Studied bachelor's degree in science and diploma in computer programming, analysis and design. Worked for companies in India as a software developer. IT is a growing industry at the time and also potential opportunity to go to foreign countries. I was young at that time and wanted to explore opportunities to work in foreign countries. I chose to come to United States. I was interviewed. I talked to some of the consulting firms. I got interviewed with Kaiser, got selected for the opportunity. After the confirmation, went to US consulate on Friday, got the visa, bought the tickets, left India on Saturday, and came to Portland on Sunday afternoon. Started working at Kaiser Permanente in Lake Oswego on Monday morning at 8 a.m. I did not know anyone here. How I'm going to survive? US is melting pot for the experienced software engineers to come to beautiful Portland, Oregon. It has become home and become Oregonian. I'm glad that I came to Portland. I did not know there are two Portland cities, one in Portland, Oregon, one in Portland, Maine. When I came 25 years ago, it was a low tech at that time. Now, with the technology of change, the process of coming here is much more easier. When I came, I have no family and friends, learning and adapting to new situation and culture. Worked for companies like Nike, Kaiser, US Bank, and CNF Transportation as a consultant. After 2 years in Portland, I went to India, got married to Shanti. After Shanti came to Portland, she worked for Intel and startup companies. Took pause in our life and discussed how we can be a self-employed. Based on thought process, company Sigma Consultants Group was born. How to be an entrepreneur? To be an entrepreneur, I need to have the people skills, how to talk to people, and how to make a good impression. I started watching videos and listening to audio tapes of Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, and Zig Ziglar. I was always interested in self-development. All this learning helped me to be successful in my business. My wife Shanti is very supportive in this venture, with one person working and another spouse taking a risk to establish business. We went gangbusters right away and started hiring people. Wow, there was a growing pain. Our first huge lesson learned. We should have paused and thought about before hiring more people. Ran into financial burden when you hire more people at the same time. We saw some success and quit my job and started working full-time with Sigma. After a couple of years in business, in 2001, dot-com crash happened. Business slowed down. It was not easy at the time to survive. With the faith, continued to focus how to survive. Started getting new opportunities and started helping clients in their projects. Business was still impacted. Took an intra-board look. We wanted to change our strategy and be partner with the clients. We thought about how to interface with the client, how to partner with them. We finally hiring 10 people in the next 6 months with a great partnership with our clients. Attending local business organizations like OAMI, Technology Association of Oregon, and BDI events to learn and network with other professionals and clients. As a growing business, we did not know all the things needed to run a business. Above organization, providing these classes and events to help us to learn. Building network of contacts is very important. Different language barrier and cultural barrier, trying to immerse myself and successful. I can remember that when I came to Portland, when I went to McDonald's and asked for fries and water without ice. Challenging communicating that message. Then I learned how to say water with no ice. Then it became easier. I'm understanding business challenges every day, helping companies to grow with my services. I received Professional Firm of the Year award from BDI, Business Diversity Institute, last year, 2020. Thank you, BDI, for the award. Served 2 years as a commissioner to Commission for the Blind. It's a state of Oregon agency. Learning about strategies and financials are helping to make the right decision. Understanding the books are very important. We have to change some business practices by doing QuickBooks online. Success from one opportunity helps to grow other opportunities. Having a business goal and looking at them and making a good decision about the opportunities to market and follow with them. We are very interested in partnering with the bigger corporations, system integrators, and strategic partners. Wanted to help more people to do projects in latest technologies like data analytics, artificial intelligence, and standard projects like a project manager, scrum master, software engineers. Help in staffing your projects for success. Be a part of employee success, good partner to companies, and help employees to achieve their success in doing their projects well. Planning for growth at a high level. I am also volunteering at Hindu Temple in Tigard and other organizations. Thank you again to all my clients, City of Portland, Multnomah County, Portland Public Schools, Kaiser, and Epson, to mention a few. Thank you to Tracy Fisher at BDI and Kimberly Sutton at Port of Portland for their Mentor Protege program. Thank you to mentors and coaches for the help. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Venki. And as you can see, you're hearing from Venki on his phenomenal journey. And not only did he have a very successful career over in India, but the fact that he had the gumption and the zest for finding out new things and exploring new opportunities, he was able to pivot within 3 days and move to a completely different country and start a whole new life here. And it was unbelievable, the success that he had taken. And, as you heard, some of the obstacles that he had to face, which I thought was pretty amazing for somebody to come in here and just really have, some great stepping stones and different career paths that has led him to the great success of Sigma Consulting today. And so now I would love to hear a little bit from Venki and maybe ask a few questions and see if we can get some of his ingenuity and a little grain of nuggets that we can share with everybody today. Hi, Venki. How are you?
Great. How are you? Thanks, Samantha, for the information. Appreciate that. Thanks for the help.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like I said, your story is just one of those things where you really look at how everybody can actually take some really good nuggets from that and just understand that, you should definitely, learn as much as you can, apply that moving forward, and not be afraid to try new things. So, with that, you had mentioned that you had some ups and downs in terms of growing a little too fast and then having to figure that out. And you said that you're, now moving forward and you're going to have a little bit more growth. Do you see that growth happening this year or next year?
End of this year and possibly the first part of the next year. So we are setting the ground foundation to grow in that process. I think to answer your question, it took a lot of preparation. I think many years in business, seeing the ups and downs and creating the strategy, say what are the steps we can do, and also learning what opportunities to run after this. In my industry, the competition is very high.
Yeah.
How do I survive, how to do that, it's definitely a challenge. Still, I'm in the so-called still in the learning stage. I think there is no end to learning because the thought process, the way people come, especially with the COVID-19, everybody's working from that strategy. So previously, when you meet people, you can do face-to-face conversation. Now that's taken away, especially for a growing organization. We need the personal touch. I'm sure that when things changes, that will be very helpful also.
Yeah.
And it's always a constant learning. I mean, when I talk to people, I always ask them the question, hey, what are things I can do better? It's an ongoing process for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you noticed different ways? Because I know you mentioned that you're now partnering with your clients rather than just working for them or supplementing. You're actually partnering with them. Can you just run through a couple of some of those innovative ways that you're doing that?
Oh, thank you for asking, Samantha. What we used to be just only providing services what they wanted, then just kept in the back seater. Now they change the thought process, be a part aligned with their mission, vision, and how they want us to be, and be a partner and a part of the team, part of the project. When they succeed, we succeed. I think it's just putting them in the front line rather than providing more information to them, rather than trying to, instead of they're asking us what we need, it becomes a tables of change. I think customers are also very busy in many things. That's the reason we need to be partner and align with their thought process, asking the right questions to them. Hey, what is important for them? Some information is generally available. Something we need to dig through a network of contacts, and it's a learning process. There is no cookie cutting approach. Hey, to do this, it happens most of the time. It happened in a trial and error way. I don't have a set process. Hey, if I do 1, 2, 3, it will happen 4. I don't have that. It's so dynamic. It changes. I think creating the relationship. I remember in the past, I meet a lot of people, many people, nothing was happening.
Right.
Sometimes things happens in unknown ways. Say people you had known many years ago, some opportunity comes up, we'll get an opportunity to learn more about them. Trying to recently learn instead of selling something to the customer, we want to understand their pain points. What are the problems they are having? First, understanding, then providing a solution will be the next stage.
Right.
Understanding the customer becomes a. Hope that helps.
Yeah. And Venki, do you have any inspirational advice that you would give maybe a business that is just starting out and there's only a few employees and maybe they want to start growing? Like you had mentioned, obviously some pain points that you yourself had experienced way back in terms of hiring. And when is the right time to really engage in hiring and expanding your business? Or is there a right time?
Good question. What I've seen in the recent is crisis creates breakthroughs. When some crisis happens, the way we think, the thought process changes, then we started helping the problems. I think how to grow. I think asking the proactive question to the customers: hey, what are know their future opportunities? Are they going from next 6 months from now or year from now? What are the things they're likely to do? That gives you a planning now, say how to position it. It's always good to do one thing multiple times rather than doing a small things in different organizations. That takes a lot of time and lot of activity happens. I think knowing the customer roadmap or where they want to do the future, how much money they're going to spend on new projects, if that information is available, that will be helpful. I think, as I said in the video, something that nothing is happening. Suddenly something will start happening. You never know the fine line when that's likely to happen. I'm sure that everybody in a small business in that stage, that growth, it takes time. I think not losing the faith, working at it, attending the network meetings, meeting people, striking a conversation, opportunities will be a good way to do that.
Yeah.
Even still, many people does not know what I do for a living. Still, this that's a constant image communication we need to do with. I think our capabilities changes also when the technology changes. Our capabilities changes, helping them in a cyber security or a technology project management, PMO office. Those things also we need to adapt to the new ventures.
Right. Well, that's fantastic. I really appreciate you, bringing your insight and sharing your story. I think it's very inspirational for people to see that it doesn't matter where you start out, where you're coming from. There are avenues if you're willing to jump in and just, try anything and learn as much as you can. And then also seize that opportunity. It sounds like, that to me is an underlying theme to your success over the years, is just seizing an opportunity. And I'm pretty excited now because I just got informed that Leanna is here. So we do have a couple of questions for Leanna that we would love to talk about. So if we could pull Leanna up, then I could pose a couple of the questions to her. All right. Hi, Leanna. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. I'm so glad that your audio is working. Sorry, little technical glitch, but I'm glad you're here today.
Yes, thank you.
So I have a couple of burning questions for you. And again, thank you again for your inspirational story and just hearing all of the different avenues and places in your life that have led you to where you are today with you and your husband. And it's exciting. And I think a lot of people are curious, what kind of advice would you give to them, if they know they're destined for some sort of greatness, but maybe they're not at that point where they can take that huge leap of faith? What kind of advice would you give to them moving forward?
I'm a big fan, of vision boards. I know that it sounds like a cliche, but being reminded every moment of your day that you're not done yet, that to keep working and to be encouraged constantly. I think that self-encouragement is probably the only way you can get through some of those days. Yeah. But it's just working. It's continuing. We looked down and continued to work. I mean, there's so many late nights that we've had. I think my 10-year-old son is probably the only boy who does not want to be on a construction site because he's spent so much time on them already. But it's it's just that work. It's putting in a little bit more than the other person and knowing that you did as much as you can, because then even if you do fail, you know that you gave it 110%.
Right, right. I love that. And so I think one of the really amazing things that you said early on in your story is that you recognized that you had a counterpart who came in and just basically said, here's what, I'm going to do. I'm going to take over. I'm taking your position. So from that, you obviously learned a lot of different things. And, what are some really great advices for people if they come up against that adversity, in the workplace, or just feel like they're getting overshadowed and they're not getting their shot? What would you tell yourself, yesterday that now today?
I would have fought more. I think that I would have put more effort in, but my 19-year-old self definitely had some different perspectives. But I think that not giving in and saying, well, he's going to win, so I'm going to move on. I think that I wish that I had fought more. I wish that I had put in that extra work. And you know what? Maybe I let the fact that he had a degree and I didn't get in the way.
Okay.
And I think that I would probably have tried to take some courses and expanded my knowledge in certain areas just so that I felt personally more competitive.
Right.
But I don't think that I would give in as easily now.
I love that. So I have another question for you as well, which is, what resources and new business opportunities, did you find, and like, where do you look for those first? Is it like a Google search or partner organizations? How do you go about doing that?
So I think some of the biggest things would be like Meet the Primes and some of the events, the outreach events that are around here. Really creating those relationships is probably what's done us the most good. Getting out and knowing the names of people, and so having people like I became friends with Rebecca Kilgore at Hoffman, and it's like she knows my name, so she knows that, oh, I have an opportunity for window coverings. I'm going to call her really quick because I know she'll be able to help me. And just being out there over and over again and having your face recognized and people knowing what you do, that's what's going to get you there in the long run. Google searches are great in the beginning, but getting out to those events are really what's going to be the most important.
Okay. That's awesome. And I think that, is an underlying tone that we also heard from Venki, which is really working with your network and getting out there and talking to as many people as possible so that when they do think of you or your type of business, that you come first. And so I love to hear that's, something that's super important, and to definitely maintain that. And so I have one last question here for you, which is when you're looking at different businesses, and you talked about potentially expanding and growing your business, and where you're over $1 million at this point. Do you see yourself growing your business even larger than that and then expanding into different states, or do you think you'll stay local?
So we've kind of gone back and forth on, okay, do we want to go into different states, or how do we grow? And I think what we decided to do was by adding a different line into our product line. So we're now looking into closets, and we've added closets as our product offering, because now we can add that as an additional contract into a building that we're already in. So we're installing the window coverings there. Maybe we can do the closets as well. And it basically doubles our revenue without having to add all that extra work and the extra travel to another state, or trusting other people in another state to do your work. So I did check, and as of this week, we are at 2 million now for backlog. So we are continuing to grow, and hopefully closets will get us to that next big mark too.
I love that. That is the most inspirational part, is the fact that, you're so happy and you're feeling fantastic where you're at, and you and your husband are actually expanding. And, the fact that you're able to do that with that type of a partner. And, to me, it just makes me feel so much better knowing that there's businesses that are out there that actually care about their customer. And that was one thing that really came through, is the fact that you have such a great passion and are inspired by your clients. And it's not just a job for you. It's a career. It's a lifestyle. It's, who you've become. And so, with that, I think that it's really important to, kind of have you tell everybody here that, you did face some obstacles, earlier on, and I'd love to hear a tiny bit more about the CASA. And if you could just talk a little bit more about that, that would be great.
Yeah, that's actually something that's really close to my heart. And it's not just with foster children. I think it's with youth in general, understanding that college debt isn't going to be required to succeed. And I think that being able to get to kids at a younger age is the most important. A lot of times when you're 13, 14, 15, and you've already gone through so many obstacles and you've had so many difficulties in life, I think that it's easy to think like, this is already my path. I might as well just keep going down this way. And it's like, get to them younger, understand that children need a voice, and sometimes it's not their parents. And
Right.
that's why I'm excited that I get to be a part of the CASA program, because I now get to learn a little bit about the legal system actually and work with DHS directly, but I'm still the voice for children. So I get to go in and see what's best for them. And sometimes it's being with your parents, sometimes it's not, but it's really what is in their best interest. And I think that what all of us need to do for kids is to make sure that every child we come into contact with is going to have their best interests looked after. And if they're not getting that, maybe find a way that we can help them to get there.
Okay. I absolutely love that. So, again, when we were talking with Venki earlier, and he was talking about some of the inspirational pieces, I would love to hear some of the things that he's done that have been kind of inspirational for him in terms of how did he really segue from, he has a language barrier. How did he really integrate that and actually make that part of, one of the charming pieces that is him? And, I love his stories and the way he tells his stories. And I think that, through his networking, he's able to really come across as, an endearing business person who really has your best interest at heart. And the fact that, he's making his business a huge success. And I think we are trying to get Venki back so that we can ask him that question. There he is. Yay! Hi. Yeah. So if you could just kind of tell us a little bit about that, like your inspirational tidbit that you would give to yourself, back in the day, that from all the knowledge that you know today.
Wow, that's a fully loaded question.
Yes.
With my what I have done is in the past, if you look at all the basketball games, people will be at peak state of mind. That means before anything happens, they to be at that good state of mind, positive, energetic. Those things flows through when you meet the customer and contacts. And also there is always will be negative will be there. There is always a fear of doubt will be there. That has to be put with the positive thoughts on the top of it, and go with that. I think instead of looking about the future, what might happen, maybe try to stay present and focus on it and try to grow to the future thing. I think we always think of, hey, what will happen 2 years from now? Hey, let's think about today. I've listened to the tapes or books. If there's any free seminars I attended, sometimes you don't know which speaker is going to impact us or impact me. Sometimes you might have heard the same thing 100 times. It may not have synced into their mind and body. Sometimes one speaker says something that if you're the right situation at the right time, that may have more meaning, that statement. Like simple example, like doing the top 3 things you need to focus on a day. I might have heard it millions of times. Have implemented it. Slowly, one speaker said it, I was at the right time. That was, I was able to think more about it now compared to past. I think it's a life is a growing thing. I think there is no one set thing I can specifically think of. Based on the individual capabilities, we can fine tune it.
Yeah.
And also attending these meetings like this, learning from other speakers, it may be related or not related. Still, we can get some ideas from them also.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Leanna, I have one more question for you. I know you're still with us, which is, what kind of roadblocks, were created by larger businesses in the attempts to do business together? And, have a few smaller firms decline bid opportunities for public projects for various reasons. Just trying to unpack some of the challenges that come with that.
So there's two factors that I ran into that have been kind of our biggest roadblocks. One of which is insurance. A lot of times, some of the larger GCs will have, I think lately I've been seeing a total of 6 million combined coverage, and we're at 5 million. So what I've talked to a lot of people about, I mean, we're window covering, so generally 5 million is going to be enough coverage. So a waiver or adding it to our bid if we need to go up to the 6 million, this is what it's going to add as our extra billing. But I think that smaller companies, knowing that there are ways to get around that, and they're just asking the right questions, that's an option, because I know that that's an instant deterrent for a lot of people. The other thing that I see a lot of, and I wish that other larger GCs would notice this, is the architects. So we see a spec and it's a certain name brand that we don't carry. Like we have a top manufacturer and then like a production manufacturer that we work with. And a lot of times there's like name protection or recognition across with other competitors. And they're all the same. So they all carry the same fabric. They all have the same mechanisms. It's just a little bit different here or there. But a lot of times it's the name itself. And if the architect says, I don't want to accept substitutions, or I don't want to look at substitution requests, we can't bid it then. So unfortunately, that instantly takes us out of it. And we want to bid it. I want to bid as many public jobs as possible. And I feel like it's my responsibility as a COVID certified firm to do that. But when I can't get the product and nobody's willing to listen to the alternates, there's just nothing I can do. Yeah,
that makes it tough. And I think that that's a really great way to segue straight into, your COVID certification. Like how were you able to receive, new opportunities because of this program? Has it benefited you?
Hugely. I would tell anybody that you need to go get your COVID certification. It was a game changer for us. I was reluctant at first because I was like, I want to win on merit and not just because of this. And it was pointed out to me, like, you're going to get to merit, but you have to get recognized through COVID. And we did. And I get calls still of like, hey, I just saw that you're on the site. I need to see if I can get a window covering quote. Like, awesome. It's awesome.
That is great. And I think that, Venky, if you have one quick second, we just have 2 minutes and then we need to wrap up. But Venky, same question, like your COVID certification, how has that benefited you, and what would you talk about?
Yeah, having a COVID certification is always good. Like Sam Brooks from OMI always says that having a certification, no guarantees of money, no opportunities. But not having it will be losing a lot of millions of dollars. Yes, it does help having a certification. Sometimes if there's any opportunities, you can come to them, to the prime contractor, say if there's any opportunities, we can help them out. Suppose if the company is from out of state, they're coming locally. As a local organization, we can be able to help. But yes, having a certification will help. Did it help you a lot? Maybe a little, but nothing wrong with it. Always, it's a help us to position it better for certain opportunities.
I love that. And, thank you so much to Venky and Leanna. I mean, I know that you both heard everybody's heard from both of these speakers and just their journeys. And that's all about, MedWeek and bringing you amazing people to come in and really talk about real life ups and downs, obstacles, and how they persevered to make their small business a success. And so I would just like to wrap up MedWeek Talks and just tell everybody, thank you so much for being here. Please support your local small business, minority contractors, and women-owned businesses. They are the heart and blood of our society and the AEC industry. And without them, we can't be successful. Nobody can be successful. So just really continue to push, network, get yourself out there, and don't lose faith. And as we've heard, education, don't lose faith, take the leap. It's all pretty amazing. And so with that, I would like to say thank you very much and remind everybody who is watching that we're going to take about a 10-minute break. So if you want to go back to the networking and event tea, that would be great before your next session begins. And thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of the conference.